morning.
Thank you all for coming today. I'm Captain Tom Didone. With me is Captain Pelicano from the Maryland Park Police and Mr. Jeff Dunkel from our Department of Transportation Pedestrian Safety Coordinator. And we're here today to talk to you about the trends involving pedestrian and bicycle crashes that have us concerned. Every year in Montgomery County, we have approximately 400 or so pedestrian and vehicle collisions, or pedestrian and bicycle collisions combined. And this is disturbing in that more than one crash occurs a day. But of those crashes, we have approximately 10 pedestrian-related fatalities. And the reason why I'm here to you today is we've had a recent surge of 5 pedestrian/bicycle serious collisions in the past 16 days. And if this trend continues, we are set to have one of the worst years that we've had in a very long time. So my purpose today is to provide you some education about what are some things that we can do to work to prevent this so this trend doesn't continue. A lot of times when you see on the news or you talk to people about a serious or a fatal collision involving a pedestrian and bicycle, there are 2 immediate responses that are uniformly heard. One is the driver is going too fast and is at fault, and 2 is there's not enough engineering enhancements. Today's discussion is not going to talk about either of those two things. It's going to talk about the importance of the bicyclist and the pedestrian to cross defensively. You see, the misnomer is that the pedestrian or the bicyclist always has right of way, and that is not always the case. If you look at the handout that I gave you where we summarize the laws, you can see that the instances in yellow highlight the fact that when a pedestrian is not crossing in a crosswalk, then they have the responsibility to yield to drivers on the roadway. And when there's a signalized intersection, they have the responsibility of crossing in that crosswalk and utilizing that signal. And when there's signalized intersections, blocks away from each other, they can't cross in the middle block. They have to use the crosswalk. But the real important issue that I want to cover today and provide you this education as much as the public is the fact that when you have a crosswalk under Maryland law, it states that a pedestrian may not suddenly leave the curb or other safe place to walk into the path of a vehicle so close that it's impossible for the driver to stop. And that's what happens very frequently. Pedestrians believe that they always have the right of way. And in some cases, they may think that this crosswalk, the paint on the ground, becomes a force field, that they're protected. Or that cars have airbags that can deploy and immediately stop them on a dime. And that's not the case. Under Maryland law, it is quite clear the pedestrians and bicyclists, before they enter a roadway, have to do so safely. And they can't do it in a fashion that they so suddenly enter the roadway that the driver can't stop. Now, what does that mean? How do we put that into terms that people can understand? And that's what today's demonstration is about. Basic physics, which is on the 2nd page of the handout that I gave you, tells you that if a vehicle is going the speed limit, and the speed limit on this roadway is 35 miles an hour. So if they're going 35 miles an hour, which is approximately 51 feet per second, and they're the normal average driver, when they see that there's a pedestrian in the crosswalk, it takes them 1.66 seconds to react to that. and that is approximately at 35 miles an hour. That's approximately 82 feet. So before they can even put in the brakes, they're traveling 82 feet. So then they hit their brakes because they're not distracted, and it takes them a total of 133 feet to stop. So when a pedestrian steps in this crosswalk, if the car approaching from this direction is going 35 miles an hour, if that car is inside that front cone that I have put out on the roadway to show you and mark this location, if the pedestrian steps in the roadway and that car is in front of that cone, physics tells us the driver will not be able to stop in time, and we're going to have a tragedy in this crosswalk. And physics has also told us that every time a 2-ton vehicle comes in contact with a bicyclist or a pedestrian, that the bicyclist and the pedestrian loses every time. It's the longest losing streak that I know of. They lose every time. Now, as we know,